All right, sixth graders, we're moving into solving equations today, multiplication and division equations. So we're going to be yesterday, you'll remember in 6.2, we focused on this idea of isolate the variable. And we're going to be doing the same thing today, isolating the variable. So we have 7x equals 56. Remember, we want to isolate the variable. So this is a multiplication problem. So to isolate the variable, I'm going to divide by 7. And remember, whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So it's essentially 56 divided by 7. 7x divided by 7 is x. 56 divided by 7 is 8. X equals 8. All right, 8 equals y divided by 6. Well, it's divided by 6. So to isolate y, I'm going to multiply by 6. So that's just going to leave me with y. And then when I do 8 times 6, 8 times 6 is 48. So y equals 48. Moving right along. 16 equals 4c. Well, this is a multiplication problem. A number right next to a variable is multiplication. So I'm going to divide by 4. That wasn't a very good 4. Going to divide by 4 there, which means I'm going to divide by 4 there. That's going to leave me with c by itself. 16 divided by 4 is 4. c equals 4. X over 17 equals 9. Well, once again, to multiply everything by 17, because this is a division problem, when I multiply this side by 17, I'm left with x. So I come over here. I'm going to have to do 17 times 9. 9 times 7 is 63. Put the 3 down, carry the 6. 9 times 1 is 9, plus the 6 is 15. X equals 153. All right, well, 12.5 or 12 and 5/10, n equals 32. Well, this is a division problem, so I'm going to be dividing everything by 12.5. When I divide this side by 12.5, I get n. I get just n. So n equals, really I'm dividing that by 12.5, and it ends up equaling n. When I do 32 divided by 12.5, well, let's set that up. 32 divided by 12.5. Remember, I got to move the decimal over to make it 125, which means I would have to move that decimal over. That would make it 320. Well, I'm pretty sure that 125 can go into 320 twice. 2 times 125 is 250. When I subtract that, I'm going to clear myself a little bit of space over here with this problem. When I subtract this, I borrow from the 3, make it a 2, make the 2 a 12. I get 70. I add a decimal 0, put the decimal straight up, bring the decimal down. Well, I know 125, if I take that by 6, that would give me 600, but the 25 times 6 would get me over 700. So I'm going to try 125 times 5 and see what I get. 5 times 5 is 5, carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 2 is 12. Put the 2 down, carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So I'm pretty comfortable here with 5. I'm going to erase some more room here. And 625. When I subtract here, that becomes a 6, that becomes a 10. Borrow it from and make it a 9. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 2 is 7. Well, I can't end up with that, so I've got to add another 0. Bring it down. Well, I know that 125 times 5 is 625. So let's try 125 times 6. 6 times 5 is 30. Put the 0 down, carry the 3. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3 is 15. Put the 5 down, carry the 1. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. I get 750. That's what I have here. So I know I can put a 6 up here. Minus 750 gives me 0. My final answer is 2.56. Now, if I go to this one, I'm going to rewrite this over here. 7x over 13 equals 3.5, just to give me a little more room. 7x over 13 equals 3.5. Well, first of all, I want to isolate 7x by dividing by 13. So that's just going to give me 7x. Now, sorry, I'm not dividing by 13. This is a division problem, so I'm multiplying by 13. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do 3 5/10 times 13. 3 times 5 is 15. Put the 5 down, carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Put the 0 down so everything lines up with the 1. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 3 is 3. I add these numbers together. 5, 0 and 5 is 5. 1 and 3 is 4. There's one digit, just the 5, that comes after the decimal in the problem. So I need one digit that comes after the decimal in my answer. So I end up with 7x equals 45 5/10. But remember, I'm solving for x. So sometimes there's a second problem that we have to do because it's 7x. So now I would divide both sides by 7 because this is now a multiplication problem. Okay? So this is now a multiplication problem. And so when I divide this side by 7, I get x. So I'm going to have to come down here and do 45 5/10 divided by 7. I'm going to put my decimal straight up because there's nothing to move it there. 7 cannot go into 4, but it can go into 45 6 times. 7 times 6 is 42. 45 minus 42 is 3. Bring down the 5. 7 can go into 35 5 times, and I know there's none left over because 7 times 5 is 35. X equals 6 5/10. All right, moving right along. Let's look at this one. 2/3 equals 1/8x. Well, this is a multiplication problem. So to isolate the variable, I'm going to divide both sides by 1/8. That will leave me with x over here. And so then when I come over here and I do 2/3 divided by 1/8, as I know, it becomes 2/3 times 8/1. Make that a multiplication sign, flip it. There's no cross-checking that can take place. Nothing besides 1 can go into both 1 and 2. Nothing besides 1 can go into both 8 and 3. So I'm just going to multiply. 2 times 8 is 16. 3 times 1 is 3. I end up with 16/3. I believe that 3 can go into 16 5 times. If 3 goes into 16 5 times, I will have 1 left over. My denominator here is 3, so my denominator there is 3. I end up with 5 1/3 that I'll go ahead and plug in here. The last one I'm doing, I'm going to draw a little line for separation purposes. 13 equals 5d divided by 15. Well, this is a division problem, so to isolate the 5d, I'd have to do 13 times 15. So if I multiply this side by 15, I end up with 5d. So I have to multiply this side by 15. So I need to come over here and do 13 times 15. Well, 5 times 3 is 15. Put the 5 down, carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. Put the 0 down. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. It's time to go ahead and add these. 5 and 0 is 5. 6 and 3 is 9. Nothing and 1 is 1. I get 195. So I end up with 195 equals 5d. Well, to isolate d, or to get d by itself, I would have to divide everything by 5, because this is now a multiplication problem. So it leaves me with D, and I would actually have to come over here and do 195. Let me get a little more space over here. 195 divided by 5. Well, 5 cannot go into 1. 5 can go into 19 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. 19 minus 15 is 4, and I'm okay with that because 4 is less than 5. I'm going to go ahead and bring the 5 down. 5 can go into 45 9 times, and I know there's none left over because 5 times 9 is 45. So that tells me that it's 39 that is equivalent to D in that situation. All right. Sounds like a plan. We'll talk to you later, 6th graders. Bye.